Your family was of Italian heritage and was partly, at least, first generation in this country.
Yes.
But the reality was that part of your neighborhood was populated by the mob. Let's talk about that. What was your relationship to the mob?
Well, I grew up right in the heart of Newark, and there were these guys that were in the neighborhood who were bookmakers, and there was gambling, and there was crap games in the street, and there were private illegal card games in various parts of the city. But I grew up with that right from the beginning, so I thought it was like that no matter where you went. I didn't know any different than that. Now, when I did begin to get involved in the music business, I found that most of the little clubs or saloons, in most cases, were owned by those guys. Now, I never had any problems with any of them. And maybe it was just because I knew everybody, and all the places that I ever worked, those were the people that came in. And I grew up around a guy that I became very, very close to, who was a captain in the Genovese family, whose name was Gyp DiCarlo. And he was like a father to me. All I knew about Gyp DiCarlo, until I started reading things later, was that he was involved in gambling. But, I mean, he never asked me for 5 cents. I never knew why until later, that nobody ever gave me any trouble in the neighborhood. He just told everybody that they shouldn't mess around with me, and that's the way it was. But I did get to, even after I'd become successful. Now, you know, I'm sure that everybody realizes that even the Copacabana was a Frank Costello venture.
Don Rickles, whom I interviewed recently, told me the story that when he first went to the Copacabana, that the person who was running the place didn't like him. But somebody from, quote, the management, from the wise guys, said to the manager, I like him. And from that moment on, Don Rickles said he played the Copacabana regularly.
Right.
He pointed out the same thing happened to him in Las Vegas. He said he knew mob people. He wasn't in the mob, but he knew mob people. And he laid out pretty much what you have, that they liked him, so they protected him. That was pretty much the case with yourself, was it not?
Now, I had exactly the same kind of experiences. And I mean, there were many times I was visited by the FBI, and they wanted to know why I was in this restaurant, sitting down having a drink with John Gotti. Well, I walked in a restaurant, and he saw me, he said, hey, how you doing? He says, come on over and have a drink. And the agent at the time said to me, he said, well, do you know who he is and what he does? I said, I don't know anything except what I read, and he never did anything to me. And he offered to buy me a drink. I said, what do you want me to do? I said, everybody that wants to buy me a drink, should I ask them what they do for a living? I said, certainly you do realize that I'm a performer. That's what I do. I said, I pay my taxes. I said, do you think these guys call me up and say, come over, we want to tell you what we're doing next week? So he laughed about it, and he said, well, he says, you know, I'm just doing my job. He said, by the way, he said, will you sign this thing for my kid?
If you had not become a singer, and there were any number of places along the way up in which you could have gone the other way, what do you think would have become of you?
Sometimes it scares me to think about what would have become of me. Not for any other reason except that I grew up in an environment where I lost a lot of friends in trunks of cars, and, you know, who did get mobbed up, or guys that went away and did time. You know, I had a brief encounter and really learned a lesson very quickly. I mean, I saw when my parents came to get me after I'd been arrested, and I saw my father cry, and that was really just enough. For me, I said, I have to fix my life.
That's when you were arrested for what we'll call minor crime,
Right.
stealing.
I'd seen so many things go down, you know, and the one thing I didn't want, if anything, was to be controlled by anybody. You know, I saw big, tough guys get talked to like they were a kid. I don't think I could ever handle that. You
But
know?
it was seeing your father cry when he came to bail you out after you'd been arrested for stealing.
And it also made reference to the fact that maybe he didn't tell me that he loved me because he just didn't know how to. But in that brief moment, he showed me. I mean, that was a very important moment for me.
You've gone through some difficult periods of your life. We all have our ups and downs. But I'm thinking of that roughly 6-month period. You lost not one, but 2 children. You got divorced. What was that like? How did you survive that? How did you come out of that?
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know how I survived it, you know. I never really drank in my life, but I was really beginning to drink a lot, and alone. It was in the daytime, and the nighttime. It's something that never ever leaves you. You know?
You were drinking more because you were trying to cover the pain?
Right. I just didn't care anymore about anything. I just, you know, how do you lose 2 kids in 6 months? I mean, it's just not normal.
Is that what caused the divorce in the end?
No, the divorce was already in progress, but all of a sudden I just got hit from every side. Losing 2 kids and being served with papers that she wanted a divorce. I did weather through that storm, and I met somebody else, and I got married, and I straightened my life out. She got pregnant, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I threw all the substances away, and I said I never want my kid to see me do anything like this.